Hi, welcome to today's lesson on how to use the eyedropper tool to forge a painting. Before we get started, if you have not already, make sure you go out to Google and find a painting that you would like to forge. So for me, I am going to File Open, and I'm going to attempt. You have to remember that I'm not the best artist, but that's not the point of this assignment. I am going to attempt to do Van Gogh's Starry Night. So I've opened this up in Photoshop. So again, pause the video right now. If you have not done this step, go find a painting that you would like to forge and save it to your H drive in a folder called Forged Painting. Okay? Now what I want you to do is File, New, to create our canvas. And we've used 8.5 by 11 or 11 by 8.5 quite often, so make sure that you choose whatever is going to be fitting of your image. So for me, I want my width to be the 11 and the height to be 8.5. It's not going to be exact, and it's not going to fit exactly my image here, but that's okay. I'm going to name this. I would put the due date in here. Or some sort of numbering system. So for me, I believe this is like 08, but for you, instead of 08, I would put the due date. Forged Painting. And of course, as always, your last name. Resolution 72 pixels per inch, RGB and white, and then you'll say create. So we've got our blank canvas. Instead of clicking back and forth between the two images here, I'm actually going to click on this tab up here and drag it out so that it has popped out of the image and I can see both my canvas and my forged painting. Sorry. Alright, but again, I'm going to be primarily working over here in my canvas. I just have this up as kind of a reference. Okay. With each step on your canvas, your blank canvas, you are going to want to make sure that you have a new layer for each color. This is so important and so vital. Anytime you go to make a change like this, you want to have a new layer because the brushes do not create new layers with every color switch. And so if you mess up or you want to change something or reorder how it looks, you can't do that if you just start painting on a blank canvas. It's like using the paint, the old school paint option on your computer. Okay, so I'm going to get started with creating a new layer. Again, I'm over here. This is just here for reference. And we are going to be learning the eyedropper tool. And so eyedropper, I know it starts with an E, but the keyboard shortcut for eyedropper tool is I. Okay, so our eyedropper tool is really awesome because what it's going to do is it's going to try to pick up on whatever colors we're using. So for me, I'm going to come over here and I can see that the base of my image is kind of this blue here. So I'm going to click here. And you can see right here that it's going to pick up on that color. So anywhere I click, that foreground swatch changes accordingly. This is really, really cool when you're trying to match color schemes in an image, maybe match some text or some text boxes or those marquee boxes if you're working with to color of someone's shirt, something along those lines. So I'm going to pick this right here, and I'm going to move this over. Next, I'm going to get my brush tool, and so the keyboard shortcut for brush is B. Up here, I'm going to want to change my brush. So the last time I did brushes, I was using some snowflakes, so I'm going to actually come up here to some of my general brushes, and I'm going to go with, that one looks good for now. Drag up my size, hardness 0, and I'm just going to paint. Maybe that's not exactly how I want to do it, but something like that. Again, making sure I'm over on this layer. I've got that on a new layer, so you can see that I've missed a spot, apparently. Alright, so I'm going to resize this a little bit. Next, you can just kind of pick and choose what you would like to go with next. So maybe after getting into this and seeing what you're doing, for me, Starry Night might be a little ambitious for my artistic abilities, so you might want to go change your image to be something a little more simple as well. I'm going to go with this little sun, this yellow, and add that in there. So again, I'm going to click I to get my eyedropper tool. I also have the tool right there. I'm going to click in the image here to change it to that yellow. Come back over here, push B for brush, and I am going to change my brush because I didn't really like that for my background. Might resize it a little bit. Remember the bracket keys that are next to the P key on your keyboard, that is also another way to quickly resize your brush, and so use that when you can. So maybe I come over here and I add this little sun, maybe the little sun that's over here. And sun's probably not the proper term, so please, my art people in the room, don't shun me. Maybe, and I'm using my hand tool so I don't have to go back and forth with my brush. I'm over here and I'm using my hand tool with the space bar to adjust and move throughout my image. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to maybe Control Z. So maybe I want to get the correct color of yellow, so I'm going to go back to my eyedropper tool to select another sample, and go back to my brush tool, come over here and kind of paint a little bit. So it's okay if I paint and then I can paint over it again. Alright, so I've got that up there, new layer, go back to my eyedropper tool, get that darker yellow, press B for brush, and kind of go there, maybe resize my brush a little bit to make sure that I can get kind of that crescent look. And so this is what you're going to do today, and you'll want to try your best to create an image that looks like the original photo. I understand that we're not artists, but I do want you to try. Remember to do a new layer for each new little brush stroke. Maybe not for like these suns, but every time you go to change colors on your image. If you have any questions at all, make sure you ask those, but maybe slow down, go back in the video. Remember the two tools that we are going to use are the eye tool, which is your eyedropper, to select the different colors in the image, noticing again that the swatch is changing, and the brush tool, and up here, coming up here to select our brush accordingly so that we can get the look that we would like. Okay? A couple of things on brush, which I had touched on probably in the lesson before this, was the size is in pixels, and you can drag your slider to the side. Hardness is how soft or hard the edges look. So if something's really hard, this 100, you can see that there was a very solid line along here. Something's very soft, and it's kind of fuzzed and blurred here on the edges. Alright, and that is your lesson for today, this project. Check Google Classroom to see when the due date is. Make sure when you turn this into Google Classroom that you are turning in the JPEG, the PSD, and your original file. So you will want to turn in what your inspiration was as well. So there are 3 files you are attaching to this assignment.